This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 134th time, we are live from the Reviewing Network studios. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live, the last new episode of the month of March. We are moving pretty fast along here in 2026. Already 3 months into the year. It's going to be April by Wednesday. I mean, that's incredible. It's amazing how time flies when, the old saying is time flies when you're having fun, but, I would say I was having fun, but it's interesting. It's been an interesting couple of months around here in these parts, especially in my personal life. Nothing too like earth-shattering or anything, just weird events that keep happening sporadically over the course of the last couple of weeks, the last 12 weeks that start this year off, but like I said, nothing that needs to be like something that you, the audience out there, needs to be worried about. I'm fine. Nothing bad is happening. It's just been an odd couple of months. I'll just say that. But excuse me. Good Lord, sorry. Almost burped there for a second. But anyway, welcome to the Reviewing Network Live, everybody. Not an interesting week of news. Not a whole lot of big stories compared to the last couple of weeks, but there are some stories worth talking about, and we'll delve into those as we go along here. But this one should be a relatively quick show this week. The stories I have to talk about here, we'll touch on some of the stuff in there briefly. There's nothing that I need to be talking to you about for a long period of time. Even the box office this weekend is nothing that spectacular. In fact, there's only one new movie we're talking about, and I kind of saw this coming a mile away, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top 5 this weekend, the weekend box office. And like I said, not an inspiring epic box office in general this weekend. Only one big new release is worth talking about. But we'll go ahead and get this going here. So let's go ahead and move on. Start off with number 5. I don't know why I did that. I'm channeling my inner C. Robert Cargill from the Spill.com days, a couple of cold ones, which basically is the basis for the inspiration for this channel. Yeah, the inspiration for this channel was Spill.com, and the inspiration for this show in particular came from a couple of cold ones, which was the first podcast from Spill.com way back in the day, almost 20 years ago, man. Good Lord. I am getting old, people, but anyway, number 5 movie this weekend, Reminders of Him, still hanging in there after 3 weeks. $4.7 million this weekend, dropping 41% from last weekend, bringing its 3-week total to $41 million. If you include worldwide numbers, it's closing in on $70 million. Low-budgeted movie, not a lot of big names involved in this, but the power of Colleen Hoover, man. She is the new Nicholas Sparks. I mean, any of her books that are made into movies are going to apparently become instant box office successes. I mean, it's mostly due to the fact that there is not a whole lot of competition, too. You can add that as a factor into that. Case in point with the number 4 film, The Hunter, The Revenge, which is, of course, the Bollywood movie that opened last weekend. Dropped 52.7% from last weekend, bringing its total to $4.8 million in terms of money this weekend. Its 2-week total now is $22.8 million domestically. If you count worldwide numbers, closing in on $90 million. Again, know nothing about this movie, so can't really talk about that one in general. But hey, it's making the money, it's finding its audience, so you can't really deny anything about that film's success. Let's get to the one new release this weekend that will be worth talking about briefly, because there really is not a whole lot to say about this one. Number three, the big new release this weekend, and that is They Will Kill You, which is Warner Brothers' new movie. Well, it's not even really a Warner Brothers movie, it's a New Line release, but Warner Brothers is distributing it. But This is the movie that stars Zazie Beetz, who takes a job as a housekeeper in a New York City high-rise, unaware of the building's history of disappearances, and soon realizes that the community is shrouded in mystery. It's kind of an action, comedy, horror movie that they were really trying to sell as the next big thing. And this thing was supposed to be a film that everyone was expecting to be like a huge, essentially a surprise hit in general, because there were so little expectations for it. But the buzz on it apparently was strong coming out of the gate when the trailers first came out. That strong buzz led to a respectable, not really, $5 million this weekend. Yeah, $5 million ain't shit for a movie like this. The worldwide gross is up to $9 million. The good news is that it only cost $20 million, so it'll eventually make its money back over time. But there is something I want to say to people about this particular movie. Told you so. I literally told you at the beginning of the month that when The Bride ended up bombing at the box office, that this movie was not going to do very well. And some people got on me by saying that I was acting crazy for thinking that. I mean, you're crazy, man. Look at the trailer. I mean, everyone's getting excited about this movie. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's going to play at South by Southwest. It's going to get all this big buzz out there. The critics are going to love the movie. It only has a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 50 out of 100 on Metacritic. So, yeah, like I said, this movie wasn't going to do very well. And it's not really because of the movie itself. It's because there really isn't a big draw to this film. I mean, there's no real... I watched the trailers for this movie, and I really did not get a sense of a movie that is going to appeal to everybody in general. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, there's no big attachable stars to this movie in general that would make people want to see it. I mean, I get it. Zazie Beetz is somebody who everyone knows from Atlanta and Joker. I mean, she is somebody that everyone kind of knows who she is, but nobody really knows for certain how. But no, she's not a big box office draw. I mean, there's times when they tried to make her a draw, like she's been in a bunch of blockbusters, hoping that she's going to evolve into the next big thing. But yeah, this is a movie where it really felt like you needed a bigger name to get somebody to get people to come in to see the movie. The biggest star of this movie and the casting in this is Heather Graham, Tom Felton from Harry Potter. Is that Tom Felton? Yeah, that's Draco Malfoy. I thought that was him. And Patricia Arquette. And Patricia Arquette's the one who's got the Academy Award. And yet she's like the last name on here. And even then, she's not really much of a big box office draw in particular. So yeah, there's a number of reasons why this movie didn't do so well. The trailers never really sold me, honestly. It was a movie apparently produced by Andy and Barbara Muschietti, who of course gave us It and The Flash. And, I mean, even they're not big household names either. I mean, they were their hits in general mostly came from the fact that they were mostly from established properties. I mean, yeah, they did have a couple of movies that they did, like Mama, and also what was the other one they did that was that it? Mama? I think it was. I think Mama was the only one, but yeah, nobody in this is really a big draw here. Plus, the movie never really distanced itself to a point where people wanted to go see the film. It looked like it was trying a little too hard to be like Kill Bill in a way, and maybe with the smaller budget, it could have been one of those things where it might have a cult following building in the next couple of years, but I honestly feel like The Bride is going to have more of a cult following than this movie will. I mean, yeah, The Bride is easy to make fun of because it's the one that had the bigger budget to it, had more of the hype behind it, but that was really more the fault of Warner Bros. Releasing that movie in March instead of October, when that film could have played gangbusters. I really do feel like if you put that movie out at Halloween, The Bride, that movie would have done much better. With this, I don't think it really would have mattered what time of the year you put it on. Unless you have a really big marketing push for this, this thing really wasn't going to sell to a lot of people. Plus, you have a lot of unknown names involved in this. This director, I know nothing about. Kirill Sokolow. The writer, I know nothing about. Alex Litvak. I mean, there's no big draws to this particular film. And, yeah, it makes sense why the film didn't do so well. I mean, like I said, it'll probably become one of those cult films in the future. But I just don't think it was a film that really felt like it needed to be seen as this big hit, potential groundbreaking hit overall. I mean, it was just not really a whole lot there to make this movie possible to hit the surprise hit that it could have been, especially considering there are two movies before that are doing much better even after weeks after release. And let's go ahead and go into those ones because they're still hanging in there. Number 2 this week. The number 2 movie is, of course, Disney Pixar's Hopper. Still hanging in there. And what could be its, I would say probably its last good weekend before next weekend. But then again, you never know. Films have done, one kid film has done pretty well since then. We'll touch on that later on. But Hopper's brought in $12.2 million this weekend, only dropping 31% this weekend, bringing its 4-week total domestically to $138.6 million. Worldwide, it's closing in on $300 million. Like I said, a much-needed original hit for Disney and Pixar. They desperately needed to hit badly. They got it right here. And like I said, it'll probably lose a lot of its audience next week, as we've got a big family movie opening up next weekend, which we'll touch on that later on as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the number 1 movie of the week. The number 1 movie of the week. Okay, I'm done singing. Unless you folks want me to do that, I will carry that tradition from a couple of cold ones, if you like that or not. But I don't know if you like it or not. But number 1, hanging in there after debuting strong last week, Project Hail Mary, and this had a pretty solid second weekend. Project Hail Mary this weekend brought in $54.6 million, only dropping 32% from last weekend, bringing its 2-week total to $164.3 million domestically. But if you include worldwide numbers, it's over $300 million. It is now officially the highest-grossing Amazon MGM release they have ever had. And really, it's not hard to see why. The movie is one of those movies that comes around where everyone is just buying into it, they're enjoying it, and it had something that hasn't been done since a movie like Oppenheimer. It's got the legs that's keeping it going. I mean, like I said, it beat Creed 3 as the top-grossing Amazon MGM Studios post-merger movie. Creed 3 had $276 million worldwide, and now this one is at $300 million, and it's closing in potentially on doubling that to possibly $600 million, which is good because the movie cost a lot of money to make. But nevertheless, the movie is doing incredibly well, doing very strong business overall, and it's not hard to see why. People are really coming into the film. They're still enjoying the hell out of it, and more importantly, it's a really damn good movie. It's one of the best. It's the best movie I've seen so far this year, and it's a movie that lived up to the expectations and the hype. When you have people like Phil Lord and Chris Miller working on a movie directed by starring Ryan Gosling, based off of a very popular book by Andy Weir, yeah, you expect great things to come from this. But here's how significant this second weekend is for this particular movie. This actually had a better second weekend holdover than Oppenheimer, which Oppenheimer had a 43% drop-off in its second weekend, $46.7 million, and Dune Part 2, which had a 44% drop-off of $46.2 million. But then you look at Sinners, which had Sinners is the other way around, where they had a really strong holdover in its second weekend with only a 4.8% drop-off from the previous weekend at $45.7 million. I mean, this movie's doing incredibly well. This is doing incredible business. If you're looking at the 10-day cum for this, $164 million. It's about 33% ahead of Sinners, which, if you remember the numbers from last year, Sinners ended up with about $279 million. So it's starting to hit. That seems like the target area where this film's probably going to end up when it's all said and done. But if you include Dune Part 2, it's actually 5% ahead of Dune Part 2, which ended at $282 million, and is 6% behind the 10-day opening of Oppenheimer, which ended around $330 million. So it seems like a fair bet it's going to end up between $275 to maybe $300 million domestically once it's all said and done. So that's pretty good for this movie in general, and it's good to see that people are going out to see this film. And I'm going to be very curious to see how it does next weekend, especially with the Super Mario Galaxy movie coming out, which the expectations on that one are sky high right now. We could be seeing a record-setting weekend for that movie, possibly $200 million over the course of the 5-day holiday weekend, which, of course, next week is Easter. I'm looking on boxoffice.com right now, and the projected number is $160 to $180 million for the 3-day, $180 to $200 million 5 days, which makes sense because that's what it was when the first movie opened up 3 years ago. So that's not much of a surprise to see that possibly the outcome being for that particular movie. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I can't wait to check that one out. But getting back to the the box office in general, other things of worth noting: Ghost surpassed $100 million this weekend domestically. The Sony Pictures animated movie, bringing in $2.2 million out of it looks like it's heading its way out of there, but $100.8 million domestically, bringing in $180 million worldwide. So that's good to see with that movie. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, brought in $4 million this weekend, just out of the top 5. $16.2 million. In terms of other things of worth noting, there were re-releases of both The Mummy Returns and Stand By Me, which I really didn't know about until this past week. I knew The Mummy Returns was getting a re-release. I had no idea Stand By Me was getting a re-release, but did pretty well despite low attention from a lot of people. Mummy Returns brought in $600,000 this weekend. Stand By Me brought in $450,000. So, hey, give them credit where credit is due. But now all the attention turns over to the Super Mario Galaxy movie and how that's going to do. The only other wide release of noteworthiness this weekend is The Drama, the Robert Pattinson Zendaya movie. I don't know how big of a wide release that's going to be, but it's definitely something that should be interesting to see how that does in particular, because A24 movies usually are those type of movies where they do find their audience on their own. I mean, they do find their audience eventually is in some way, shape, or form. The marketing usually doesn't have to sell on TV all over the place, but it'll be interesting to see how that film turns out in particular and how that does. But hey, Zendaya and Robert Pattinson were the ones who gave the Best Director Oscar a couple weeks ago, so they are doing at least some marketing on this particular film. But yeah, other than that, though, not much more to really say about the box office in general. I mean, it is what it is. It's a slow weekend, of course. Everyone's getting ready for Easter this week, and Super Mario Galaxy should be a movie that should command a lot of business at the box office. Be very curious to see how A, Hoppers does, and B, how Project Hail Mary does with all these people moving from that movie to this film. How good will Project Hail Mary do holding up in the next couple of weeks? But other than that, though, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. We'll touch on Super Mario Galaxy in a little bit, because there was some news that broke this weekend about a cameo that's about a role that's coming up in this movie. Whether or not it's still a cameo is to be determined, but it's an interesting move, I guess, because I think it's guaranteed that this movie's going to do well, but still feels odd that they're doing it now. But we'll get to that eventually. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the news stories of the week. And like I said, not a whole lot of big news stories, but interesting news stories. So, of course, one of the big news stories that we'll be talking about for the next couple of months is the end of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Everyone is wondering what he's going to do next. Is he going to take his late night expertise to another network, another show, maybe his own platform or something like that? That part's to be determined. But we did get some news about his future moving forward, and it's interesting. It's a moment where I looked at it and I thought to myself, wait, what? But then again, when you read into it, it makes too much sense. So why don't we go ahead and let Peter Jackson and the man himself tell you what they are planning on doing together.
Well, hi everybody. I thought it was time to give you all a Hunt for Gollum update, the first of many that we'll do, little blogs along the way. And Andy Serkis has been busy designing the film. He's going to direct it and obviously play Gollum. We've got a lot of the old team back again, familiar faces and some new faces. But Andy's doing a terrific job. It's looking amazing. The script is coming together really well, and I think it's going to be a really good film. A really good film. But that is not the only Tolkien movie that we're developing. We've actually got another film that we'll be making after Hunt for Gollum. So I thought I should tell you a little bit about that. Oh, actually, why don't I get somebody else to explain it? Because we've got a very special partner that we're working with, and you can see for yourself. Hang on. There we go. Hello.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Stephen. Hi. How are you?
How are you doing?
Good. I like all your Tolkien stuff on the wall there. That's that's.
Oh, thanks. This is just part of the collection.
So I was just explaining to the folks about the next Tolkien movie after Hunt for Gollum, and the fact that we've partnered up with you to develop the script. So
yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. Should I tell people what the story is?
As much as you want. Yep.
I will, as much as I can. You know what the books mean to me and what your films mean to me. But the thing I found myself reading over and over again were the 6 chapters early on in the Fellowship that y'all never developed into the first movie back in the day. It's basically, the chapter is 3 is Company through Fog on the Barrow Downs. And I thought, oh wait, maybe that could be its own story that could fit into the larger story. Could we make something that was completely faithful to the books while also being completely faithful to the movies that you guys had already made?
So that's kind of an idea of what essentially is happening here. But the first time I heard about this, I thought to myself, okay, this is probably a joke. But then when you watch that video and see how much he's talking about, you know, how much he's passionate about the stories in general, it made me realize this guy might actually be a guy who could be perfect for a film like this. So the story on Deadline Hollywood is that Stephen Colbert doesn't have to worry about his next gig after he signs off as host of The Late Show on May 21st. The late-night host will be embarking on what is arguably his dream project, adapting the next Lord of the Rings movie for New Line Cinema and Warner Bros. The tentatively titled The Lord of the Rings Shadow of the Past is set to be written by Colbert, Philippa Bowens, and Peter McGee. The trio will join forces with the wizards behind the New Line franchise, Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Bowens. Colbert on Monday revealed that the film will be based on Fogs of the Barrow Downs, the 8th chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring, where hobbits are trapped by a barrow wight in an unnatural fog. The story also includes a fan-favorite character omitted from the previous film, Tom Bombadilla. The movie will be derived from chapters 3 through 8 of Tolkien's landmark book. The next film in the series, The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, directed by Gollum himself, Andy Serkis, and adapted by Walsh, Bowens, Artie Papagiorgio, and Phoebe Gittins, the movie is due out on December 17, 2027. I should also mention that that particular movie has Kate Winslet attached to star in it. The Lord of the Rings, The Shadow of the Past is set 14 years after the passing of Frodo. Sam, Merry, and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Meanwhile, Sam's daughter Eleanor has discovered a long-buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it even began. You know what the books mean to me and what your films mean to me, but the thing I found myself reading over and over again were the 6 chapters early on in the Fellowship that y'all never developed in the first movie back in the day. Colbert said in the video with Peter Jackson announcing the project. The late-night talk show host pondered if they would make something that was completely faithful to the books while also being completely faithful to the movies that had already been made. Colbert has been long known as an obsessed Lord of the Rings fan, even hosting panels at Comic-Con for both the Amazon series and the Battle of the Five Armies. And they have a clip from The Late Show where Dominic Monaghan, Billy Boyd, and Peter Jackson were trying to stump Colbert with Lord of the Rings trivia. Now here's the interesting thing here. The irony here is that the whole deal is that while Colbert is ending his employment with the David Ellison-owned Paramount this May, he'll ultimately be back in business with them once again after they take control of Warner Bros., which is expected to be for Q4 this year. I just find that hilarious that, you know, Paramount thought the people at Paramount thought they were being so smug and trying to get rid of Stephen Colbert by taking him off his late night show. And assuming this movie gets made, I can just imagine what that first interaction after the Late Show ends the next day is going to be like. I think Stephen Colbert will walk into I think David Ellison will walk into his office one day and see Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert will just go like,
"Hello, motherfucker."
Many.
Exactly. That's exactly what it'll be like. "Hello, motherfucker." like the meme and all that. But nevertheless, this actually sounds much more interesting than I thought it was going to be. The set is from the first time I heard it, because yeah, it makes sense. And if you watch the Colbert Report, if you watch Stephen Colbert's whole career, you could tell that he loves the Lord of the Rings, and this is somebody who is so passionate about it. And you know, it could work out. It'd be interesting to see what Colbert can do as a writer, as a screenwriter too, a film screenwriter. And how funny would it be if after all of this, it's not, I wouldn't say it's possible to happen, but what if he writes a script good enough that he actually gets an Academy Award from it? And all because it's all going to stem from when CBS basically let him go because they were trying to appease the president, and it's going to backfire on them more than it already is right now. I just find that so hilarious and so amusing, but nevertheless, I'm very excited to see if this actually gets done. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do this, and more importantly, if Warner Brothers will be able to do it if Paramount is going to get control of them. Again, we'll touch on that a little bit later on, because there's a story this weekend there's a critical date coming up for that particular merger that we'll get to. But Let's go ahead and move on now to our next story. And that is the fact that the Murder, She Wrote movie is officially a go. It is getting made just after we're talking about Miami Vice. Another classic Universal TV series is getting the big screen treatment once again. This comes from Variety, as it says, Murder, She Wrote, a reboot of the beloved crime drama, will land in theaters next Christmas. Universal has slated the film to open on December 22nd, 2027, with Jamie Lee Curtis starring in Murder, She Wrote as the iconic crime writer and amateur sleuth known as Jessica Fletcher, who was memorably portrayed by Angela Lansbury in the original TV series. Plot details for the upcoming movie haven't been released, but the show, which ran from 12 seasons from 1984 to 1996, centers around Fletcher's knack for solving murders in the fictional quaint town of Cabot Cove, Maine. Murder, She Wrote will debut on the big screen alongside Sony's animated adventure Buds, and 3 days ahead of Nancy Meyer's untitled romantic comedy starring Kieran Culkin, Michael Fassbender, Jude Law, and Penelope Cruz. Since the holidays are the busiest time of the year for moviegoing, Murder, She Wrote faces a competitive landscape with 2 major blockbusters, Avengers: Secret Wars and Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, opening on the same day, December 17th. Oh, crap. I mean, I knew that Avengers and Doom were going to open up on the same day this weekend, but man, Disney and Warner Bros. Are going to go head-to-head next year, too. Assuming that that's going to happen. I feel like Lord of the Rings will probably budge first, but yeah, you get the idea. I mean, the next 2 Christmases are going to be packed with movies, man. But Jason Moore, of Pitch Perfect fame, is directing the Murder, She Wrote reboot from a screenplay by Dumb Money scribes Lauren Schuker-Blum and Rebecca Angelo. Amy Pascal, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller, who recently collaborated on Amazon's MGM hit project Hail Mary, will produce the film through Lord Miller's first look deal with Universal Pictures. So it's the same people who gave us Project Hail Mary, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense to get excited about that. I mean, Murder, She Wrote was one of those shows that was such a critical part of a lot of our childhoods from the 80s and 90s. I mean, as kids, we didn't watch it when it first aired, but when you go to your grandparents for holidays or on the weekends and all that, it's always playing on TV. Like USA will play it on TV, or it's on syndication. It's just like you watch it, it's just kind of like, yeah, you can get invested in this. Plus, Angela Lansbury, man, Jessica Fletcher, can't go wrong with that. I'm very interested on how long this movie probably stays on that date. I feel like they're going to push it up. They're either going to stick with this and see what happens, or they're going to move it to a date where it could actually make more money in general. I don't know if it's going to stick there, but the next 2 Christmases are going to be very interesting box office-wise, and I think overall we're going to learn a valuable lesson about how this is all going to work out. And hey, we'll get to see Disney and Warner Brothers competing one last time before Warner Brothers is sucked into the depths of hell that is Paramount. But again, more on that a little bit later. But moving on, we have a couple of Ryan Gosling related news, and I'll start with this one here because I didn't include it in my original list of articles to talk about here, but it is worth talking about considering he's now a big draw right now with Project Hail Mary, and he's got Star Wars Star Trooper coming out next summer. And that is that Ryan Gosling has been in discussions about playing Ghost Rider, but according to the Variety article I'm about to read here, it's a complicated situation. Keep hope alive. Ryan Gosling recently appeared on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast to promote Project Hail Mary and confirmed there's some discussions taking place with Marvel regarding him joining the MCU as Ghost Rider. The La La Land and Barbie Oscar nominee first revealed his interest in playing Ghost Rider in 2022 while shutting down speculation that Marvel was courting him for a different role, the intergalactic officer Nova. We'll keep hope alive, Gosling said on his Project Mary press tour when Ghost Rider came up. Some discussions have been had. It's a complicated situation. Gosling's 2022 declaration that he'd want to play Ghost Rider in the MCU was warmly received by none other than the Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Hey man, if Ryan wants to be Ghost Rider, Feige said when learned about Gosling's Marvel pitch while on the red carpet at Comic-Con later that year, Gosling's unbelievable. Ryan is amazing. I'd love to find a place for him in the MCU. He dressed up as Ken on Venice Beach filming Barbie and gets more press than giant movies coming out that weekend. It's amazing. And that's pretty much it from the article in particular. But I think that's kind of interesting to see that. I think that would actually be pretty cool to see him playing Ghost Rider. I mean, yeah, everyone associates Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage, but I mean, let's be honest, Nicolas Cage, I mean, those movies are not that great. I'm sorry, I know people still kind of have a soft spot for those movies, but they're pretty bad movies in general. But that was not the story I wanted to cover here. I wanted to cover the other story because, Ryan Gosling continues to be a busy man. Of course, he's got Project Hail Mary right now, and he's working on Star Wars Star Trooper, which is set to come out next summer. And now he's going to be working on the next film from the directors of the Oscar-winning Everything Everywhere All at Once. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter that says filmmaking duo Daniels have found its star for their next sci-fi action comedy, Ryan Gosling. The Oscar-winning filmmaking team behind Everything Everywhere All at Once has cast Gosling to lead the untitled event film for Universal Pictures, which is gearing up for a summer start. The film already has a release date of November 19, 2027, and falls under an overall deal with the studio for their Playgrounds banner with their longtime producing partner Jonathan Wang. Now, if this stupid pop-up would close... There we go. I hate these pop-ups that keep showing up here because it says close on the side, but it makes the screen all black, so I can't see what the hell is going. I can't see the article. And every time you try to hit the close button, it doesn't close right away. But anyway, back to the story. It's the first piece of news for the project in some time. The film marks the duo's follow-up to the pop culture phenomenon that won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay for Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, and 3 Best Acting Oscars for, of course, Best Actress Michelle Yeoh, Best Supporting Actress Jamie Lee Curtis, and Best Supporting Actor Ki-Hu Kwan. It was also a box office juggernaut, earning $143 million on a $25 million budget. And, of course, they bring up Project Hail Mary, which opened at #1 at the global box office last weekend. Per Universal, plot details remain under wraps for Daniels' new film, though in an interview with Collier at South by Southwest, Kwan revealed some broad strokes about it being called a fun sci-fi action comedy with a big heart, very existential, all the things that you would hope that one of our movies would be. He added that the film would also meet the moment of a complex world. One of the reasons why it's taking so long is because what we're feeling and what we're hearing from the world is very complex or really nuanced, and there's so much paradox. To kind of reconcile all those things and put them into one movie, it takes time. The film will also feature an ensemble made up of younger talents, with one source indicating that it could be in the zone of high school ages. Kwan, Scheinert, and Wang are producing through the Playgrounds banner. Universal's Executive VP of Production Development, Sarah Scott, and Director of Production Development, Jacqueline Garrow, are overseeing the project for the studio. The news also comes as Universal's Focus Features is readying to release the AI documentary, Or How I Became an Apocalyptimist, with Kwan and Wang producing for the film-making trio of Daniel Rohrer and Charlie Tyrell, which actually came out this weekend. So is this story? Well, it's actually from the day before it came out. So I don't know why it's saying that it's hitting. It hits theaters tomorrow. Okay, so that makes sense. But I think getting from the idea here. Part of me thinks that this is like a big live-action adaptation of the Magic School Bus. I mean, if you're going to cast high school kids in a sci-fi comedy, I mean, I don't know. But that's just my nostalgic thinking here. I know it's not going to be like the Magic School Bus, especially with these two guys who have won an Academy Award. And can you imagine if their next movie, the Daniels' next movie, after they did Everything Everywhere All at Once, was a live-action adaptation of the Magic School Bus? Everyone will be looking at it and going like, what the fuck is this? But I'm not saying it's not a bad idea, but maybe not the first movie you do after you win the Academy Award. But either way, I'm just trying to kill time here. But yeah, this sounds like it could be very interesting. And hey, Ryan Gosling is a big draw now. And I'm glad to see that. The guy's been one of my favorite actors for many years now. He's been on a roll the last couple of years with Barbie, The Fall Guy, and now Project Hail Mary. Anything he's in, I'll be there on opening weekend to see it. No question about it. So, all right. So then let's move on to let's go to the Academy Awards, because the big story is that they're going to be moving here to YouTube in 3 years time. Well, that's not the only big news that came this weekend, because apparently when the Oscars move to YouTube, so will the Oscars be moving away from its longtime home. So this was kind of a stunning news in general, because, we all know the Academy Awards are moving to YouTube in a couple of years, but apparently they are moving away from their longtime home as well. The Academy Awards, as it was announced this week, are moving away from the Dolby Theater to the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. Here's a story from Deadline. Move over Emmys, the Oscars are coming. Starting with the 101st Academy Awards, which is already set to disrupt the usual order of things Oscar-wise with its move from ABC to YouTube, the ceremony will now be broadcast from a brand new venue. Well, not exactly new, since it's in the same place the Emmys have been held for the past few years. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and AEG on Thursday revealed a multi-year partnership that includes LA Live becoming the new home of the Oscars, beginning with the 101st ceremony in 2029 and continuing through 2039. The ceremony will be held at the Peacock Theater, which is the same space the Emmys and other events have been used in recent times. The deal represents a move back to downtown Los Angeles for the Oscar ceremony, which took place at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion for many years, starting in 1969, and then later at the Shrine Auditorium, until it's moved back to Hollywood at the then named Kodak Theater, now named the Dolby Theater, in 2002. So, I find this kind of interesting because I'm looking at a picture right now of the Peacock Theater, and when you look at the Peacock Theater and you look at the Dolby Theater where the Oscars have been held for the past 24 years, 25 years actually, because it started, I believe, in 2002. 25 years, somewhere around that label, but yeah, it does not look like a big theater. It really does not look like a big venue for an event like the Academy Awards, and I feel like there's going to be less people there. But according to this, the 23-acre, 4 million square foot sports and entertainment district in downtown LA is adjacent to the Crypto.com arena. So, I mean, it doesn't look like it's a big venue from this picture I see, but then again, they have time to make the place bigger, and I think they have to make it bigger if they're going to have the same kind of effect that they had when they had the show over at the Dolby Theater. I also really think they did this because a lot of people came to the realization that the Oscars are held in a theater located inside of a shopping mall. Like if you don't know that, but if you didn't realize that, I found that out on the day of the Oscars when you look at the Academy Awards and you had pictures online of people saying like the Academy Awards takes place, the biggest event in Hollywood takes place at a shopping mall because it's like inside of a building where the Dolby Theater is located. And honestly, some people might look at that and think to themselves that, man, that doesn't seem like a prestige event should be there. But honestly, I think that's kind of amazing. I think that is kind of a fun idea to have the Academy Awards at a place where you can go and find like an Orange Julius or an Annie Ann's there. And I mean, I think that's hilarious. And hilarious, I say hilarious like it's like a funny thing, but hilarious, but also kind of cool at the same time. Like I really would like to see what that's like. Hopefully someday I can get out to Hollywood and actually see it. But I mean, it's an interesting scenario. I'll say that, but yeah, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off inside of a small theater like the Peacock Theater. But then again, they've got time. They've got many years before they have to they have to make the changeover. But needless to say, the Academy Awards seem like they're going in for a massive retooling in a couple of years' time once they move out of broadcast television and over to the world of the internet. But still kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out. So let's go ahead and move on to the next story we've got for you. And as that Tom Hanks and Marielle Heller are reuniting once again after arguably probably Tom Hanks' best movie in the last 10 years, which was The Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which of course Tom Hanks played Mr. Rogers. But this is from Deadline Hollywood, and it says, as the Dodgers are opening their season and trying for a three-peat today, which I guess this was on Wednesday when the story got put out, it's not the only hot baseball game going on in Hollywood. 3 studios are vying for The Comebacker, a film that will reteam Tom Hanks with Marielle Heller, who directed Hanks as Mr. Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Based on a short story by Dave Eggers, The Comebacker was screened by Heller and is called A Love Letter to Baseball. Sony and Focus are in the mix with one another. Hanks plays the pitching coach of a major league hurler whose life is upended when he is hit in the head by a line drive on the mound. His life changes in all kinds of ways. There's no actor yet to play the pitcher, but it sounds like every young leading man in town will be after this one. Production will begin in October, and the film is being produced by Hanks' partner Gary Goatsman at Playtone and Healer's producing partner Leah Holzer at Defined by Nature. Only one of the 3 bidding distributors will come away with the movie, and the only 2 must remember, there's no crying in baseball. I'm not even kidding. They literally put that in the article because, of course, that's the famous line from the other Tom Hanks movie, A League of Their Own. Hank and Goatsman are just wrapping Greyhound 2 in Australia. Once again, Hank wrote the script and stars, with Aaron Schneider directing for Apple Original Films. Unless the bargaining goes into extra innings, the deal should close by the weekend. And as far as I know, we don't have anything just yet, or maybe the deal is being sought out now and it'll be announced tomorrow morning or by the time you listen to this. But as of right now, at 9:53 on Sunday night, March 29, 2026, I have not seen any story about who might eventually get this movie. But like I said, man, Tom Hanks and Marielle Heller made a really good movie in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So naturally, I'm very excited to see this movie. I'm very excited to see this get made. It doesn't say about the other stars of this movie, because I thought I saw something else that they had people like Bad Bunny and Coleman Domingo also going to be in this. Let me see if I can find it on another page here. Here it is on Variety. It says, where is it at? On Variety, it does say rap superstar Bad Bunny and Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo are eyeing roles in the project, sources say. So they're eyeing spots in this movie in general. So was about to say I'm kind of intrigued, but I'm kind of curious why it was not in the original Deadline article here. Maybe this is one of those things where it's just like it hasn't been officially confirmed yet if Bad Bunny and Coleman Domingo are seriously considering this or not. But Variety seems fully agreeing on the idea here. But let's see if the Hollywood Reporter article also says it too, because I know, or I think the Hollywood Reporter would have something to say about this, right? Right. There's no article. Okay, so well, so there you go. That's the latest on the Tom Hanks movie. Tom Cruise movie. What's wrong with me? But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next story we got here, and that is the fact that with the Super Mario Galaxy movie coming out this weekend, and that movie expected to be a blockbuster hit regardless of what news comes out. Apparently, as everyone at Universal and Illumination thought it was basically okay to admit that yes, the rumors are true, and that we are not only having Super Mario in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, but we're bringing all the Nintendo characters into this, because apparently they are more than ready to admit that yes, Star Fox is going to be in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and he's going to be voiced by a very familiar face. So this is from Variety, and it says, is there a Super Smash Bros. Movie on the horizon? Which at this point, considering what they've done, probably yes. It sure seems like that's what the Super Mario Galaxy movie is building up to, with the surprise announcement Thursday that Fox McCloud of the Star Fox and Super Smash Bros. Video game is joining the film. Fans have theorized that Space Pilot Fox could be in the movie after a blink and you miss an appearance in the previous Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer. Now it's all coming true. And it says here no voice actor has been officially announced yet, but I do have the voice for that because it was revealed on another article. But Star Fox is coming into the world of Super Mario in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and not only is that going to be the case, but guess who is voicing Star Fox? Glen Powell, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood right now, one of the biggest draws right now, and yes, Glen Powell, who finally had his first really good movie this past November with The Running Man as a leading actor. Suck it, anyone but you fans. But Deadline officially confirmed the rumors. Glen Powell is confirmed to voice the role of Fox McCloud in the Super Mario Galaxy movie out April 1st. Powell made the announcement in a post to Instagram on Friday captioned, "Born to Barrel Roll," which let's go ahead and take a listen. Doing it in the most Glen Powell way possible. There you go. The confirmation is there. Glen Powell is playing Star Fox in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and it's yet another major character coming into this franchise now, because we already know that Princess Rosalina is going to be in there, voiced by Brie Larson. We know Bowser Jr. is already going to be in there, voiced by Benny Safdie. We know that Donald Glover is going to be in there as the voice of Yoshi, which I found out later on in an article on Deadline that he championed hard for that role. Like, apparently Jack Black said he tried really hard to get that role, and I think that I find that kind of odd and kind of amusing, but here it is. It says there that Donald Glover has been campaigning for the role, according to his co-star Jack Black, who reprises his role as Bowser. It's kind of a cool thing. We got lucky that we got Brie, who crushes it and loves Nintendo Universe, and also Donald, who campaigned for the role. He told his agent, call Chris Meledandri, who is the CEO of Illumination, and tell him I really want to be Yoshi. I'd love to be in the new Super Mario Bros. Because he loves it and he loves that universe. Glover got his wish and joins all these different voice actors involved in here. And it's, I'll say this, it's an interesting scenario here, what they're doing with this, especially building up all these big names that are going to be in here, which probably means there's going to be a lot more when the movie actually comes out. We'll probably get a lot more details, because we already know apparently that Rob the Robot is going to be in this too, voiced by Ed Scooter. But I will say this though, I do have some concerns about this for the movie in general. largely the fact that they're making all these big deals about all the cameos in here, and I feel like this movie is going to be oversaturated with a lot of stuff here that could end up hurting the film in the long run. I'm still looking forward to checking it out. I can't wait to see it, but I feel like they're adding a lot too much here, and it's going to ruin the surprise factor when the movie actually comes out. This is the casting of Glen Powell as Fox McCloud. I feel like that should be something that should have been like something saved for the actual movie. I don't think they should have revealed it right away, because I feel like unless they're going to do like some big surprises, like for some like. If you're gonna go, like, if we're going down this route here, and they're gonna reveal all these names in this movie, they better have something huge planned for who they're announcing for the rest of the Nintendo characters here. I'm talking about, like, are we gonna see Kirby eventually coming in here? Are the Pokemon gonna show up at some point in here? I know we're probably gonna get to see probably see Wario get introduced in like a post-credit scene, announcing a sequel. Like, I feel like that's pretty obvious that Wario and who's his Wario and who's his brother? Who's Wario's evil brother? I should know this. Who is his evil brother? Wario and why can't I figure out the name? God damn. I can't figure out the name right now. Waluigi. I mean, obvious. But yeah, needless to say, I think they're going to end up being in like some kind of post-credit scene or a spoiler, or a brief scene in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I feel like that's a given in particular, but I'm curious to see how far this is going to go. Will Kirby Kirby I think probably might show up at one point. At this point, you might as well just sum up that all these characters are going to eventually meet up for the Super Smash Brothers movie. I think that's probably the next film in the series coming up. But yeah, I'll be there to see it, no question about it. But at the same time, it's just like I feel like revealing all these big new additions into the film this late on, instead of just letting them be surprises, might end up hurting the film when it comes out in a couple of days. But you never know; could end up actually turning out to be something that helps the film even better in the long run. But again, we just got to wait to see what happens here. All a good time. I mean, Illumination proved a lot of people wrong when they made the first Super Mario Brothers movie, and that turned out to be a good film. But I feel like by movie 2, you got to take the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 approach. I mean, you got to try to you did a good job of using the first movie to launch this universe into movie form. Now you have to make a story that actually makes a lot of sense and actually makes you want to keep coming back to the next couple of movies here. I think you have to take that approach, just like they did with the Sonic films. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work out in their favor, but I mean, it could get more butts in seats, even though I don't think it really needs to at this point. But hey, take the extra publicity that you can. So let's go ahead and move on to the last thing I want to cover here. It's very brief, but it's an important date coming up in the next month. Okay, so we know now that Warner Brothers and Paramount are in this deal right now that may or may not get done, but knowing who runs Paramount, they're going to try their damnedest to get this moved quickly as they can. But the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Warner Brothers has set an official date for the shareholders to agree on the deal or not. Warner Brothers Discovery sets April 23rd vote on Paramount mega deal. It's scheduled a special meeting of shareholders to vote on the $110 billion mega deal by Paramount Skydance. The company said early Thursday that the special shareholder meeting will be held on April 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The WB board says that it unanimously recommends that shareholders vote to approve the Paramount deal at the meeting. It's the second special meeting scheduled by Warner Brothers this year. The company had previously scheduled a vote to approve the Netflix deal, but announced at the time it was open to a window to engage with Paramount to try to secure a best and final offer. Ultimately, of course, Paramount's sweetened bid won the day, and now the WB shareholders will have to vote on it. The WBD has been guided to the single principle of securing a transaction that maximizes the value of our iconic assets and delivering as much certainty as possible to our shareholders, said Samuel A.D. Piazza, Jr., chairman of the Warner Brothers Discovery Board of Directors. This historic transaction with Paramount not only does that, but it will also expand consumer choice and develop new opportunities for creative talents. We look forward to the upcoming special meeting, added WBD CEO David Zaslav. The transaction is the culmination of the board's robust process to unlock the full value of our world-class portfolio. I want to thank our talented team for transforming the business over the last several years. We are working closely with Paramount to close the transaction and deliver its benefits to all shareholders. And I would also like to thank Paramount for accepting this deal because I have a whole lot of money that I'm taking out of the bank right now, knowing that this deal is going to go bust. I mean, do we really have to talk about why this is a bad deal? And I would like to think that the shareholders are smart enough to see through the bullshit here, but more than likely they're going to approve this deal. But like I said, this is not a done deal yet. It just depends on what happens once the DOJ gets involved in it, because the Department of Justice because it was revealed this week that the DOJ did send out subpoenas in its investigation of the acquisition of Warner Bros. By Paramount. And I have the story here from Reuters, so let's see if it shouldn't be a problem here with me reading this, but the inquiries show that the DOJ moving ahead with its probe into the $110 billion acquisition, along with the company's streaming services and news operations. Hollywood and Wall Street are intensely interested in the high-stakes deal, which would bring together some of the entertainment industry's most enduring franchises, but deal a blow to film and television jobs. The DOJ is seeking information on how the deal would affect studio output, content rights, and competition among streaming services, the sources say. The DOJ is also asking how the acquisition could affect movie theaters, two of the sources said. Subpoenas are an investigative measure and do not dictate any outcomes. If the DOJ finds competition problems, it can sue to block the deal or negotiate a settlement to resolve concerns. Active Assistant Attorney General Ahmed Assefi, who led the DOJ's antitrust division, told Reuters in an interview last week that Paramount will absolutely not have a fast track to approval because of political factors. Paramount has been expecting authorities in many places to review the deal, Chief Legal Officer Makwan Delrahan said in an antitrust conference in Washington on Wednesday. Representatives of the DOJ, Paramount, and Warner Bros. Did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The European Commission is actively engaging with third parties on the deal, two sources say. Canada has also reached out to at least one company about the deal, one of the sources say, and the California Attorney General Office has been eager to speak with third parties, the other two sources say. Paramount fought aggressively to wrest the deal from Netflix. It has been closing on the deal quickly, promising to pay Warner Bros. Shareholders a 25-cent per share quarterly ticking fee starting in October if the deal has not closed. Of course, one of the things that this is one of concern in the U.S. is whether the merger would limit the numbers of buyers for films and shows. Paramount sees $6 billion in cost synergies in the deal, which is often code for massive layoffs. Paramount has said it expects the majority of those savings to come from streamlining technology and real estate and other corporate-wide efficiencies. The DOJ has reached out to independent production companies asking about the proposed deal's impact on competition, according to one industry veteran who requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue. The Teamsters Union has expressed concerns from the proposed merger, posing a direct threat to employment, and urged the DOJ to block the deal unless enforceable safeguards are put in place to protect jobs and output. Such safeguards have been negotiated before. After its unsuccessful attempt to block the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, California secured an agreement that the merged company would maintain its California headcount for 3 years. The organization representing theater owners also released a statement in late February, noting that the studio's consolidation has historically led to the production of fewer movies. At this juncture, there is no reason to believe that the outcome here will be any different, said Cinema United President Michael O'Leary. We will continue to urge regulators to heed the lessons of the past. So, even if they approve this deal, you would like to think that this is a battle that's far from over. This is a battle that's far from over, and they're going to do everything they can to try to get this deal to not happen, while Paramount's going to try everything it can to get this done as quickly as possible. So, keep your fingers crossed that the heroes in this, the people who are fighting this merger, will get exactly what they need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen. But we will see. We will see what happens. It's going to be a very, very interesting month. That's for damn sure. So, on that front there. So, we are not done with Paramount and Warner Brothers, and we probably won't be for a long, long time. But let's go ahead now and wrap this up by taking a look at some recommendations for the week. So, on the last day of the month, we have a couple of new recent releases getting their debuts on physical media this week, including Marty Supreme, which has Timothée Chalamet in it. Of course, we don't need to talk about the story of that during the Oscar campaign. We'll just move along from there. The other big new release is the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, which should be getting a steelbook coming up in the next couple of days from Walmart, one would think, but we'll see. But that's the other big new wide release this week. There is a lot of catalog titles coming out on Blu-ray on Blu-ray. Again, some of them on 4K for the first time, such as Outbreak, which not particularly a fan of, but Ray is coming out on 4K for the first time ever. Of course, featuring an Oscar-winning performance by Jamie Foxx. Scooby-Doo's All-Star Laugh Olympics is getting a Blu-ray release through the Warner Archive Collection. We have Greenland coming out on 4K. Little Nicky's getting a steelbook through Shout Factory. Let's see, what else do we got here? Return of the Pink Panther is coming out on 4K through Kino Lorber. Another one of their Pink Panther titles getting a re-release. One for the 4K for the first time ever. But the big one for me will be the SpongeBob movie. I'm hoping to get that steelbook this week, and maybe if I can get out there, possibly find Marty Supreme at a good price at Barnes & Noble or something. But again, we will see as time goes on. But other than that, though, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Reviewing Network Live for this week. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you guys next Sunday as we get ready for... as you finish up your Easter Sunday, we'll be here. But if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this and want to listen to more videos like this, hit our like button, subscribe button, notification button. Check out our last episode we did, as well as our playlist. You can see every episode of the Reviewing Network Live from the very beginning. And that's it. So with all that said, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys on the next episode. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, we are out.